Mobility Authority Board meeting to order. Do you want to do roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Perez.
Here.
Ms. Ortega. Here. Mr. McElroy. Here. Mr. Lindner.
Here.
Ms. Avalos. Here. Ms. Wilson.
Here.
And we do have a quorum.
Is there any public comment?
No, ma'am, none received.
Okay.
Yeah, let me, hold on one second. IT, we're having that issue. Can you hear that? For the record, Mr. Palacios has joined us. Thanks. This is still a new facility for us, so we're working out some kinks. Bear with us,
Sure.
please. How are we doing?
The video is on right there. That's, yeah, no, but that's the YouTube, not the live video. So that's why we're getting audio.
Are we okay?
Almost. Okay, I think we're okay now? Sounds like? Ms. Wilson, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're good.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Item number 2, introduction of new board member Laura Avalos.
Yes, ma'am. This is our first meeting with Ms. Avalos as a full board. I would note that Ms. Avalos joined us at the Finance Committee yesterday, but if you would mind taking a moment to introduce yourself.
Of course. Good morning, everybody. My name is Laura Avalos. I have had the pleasure of meeting Joyce for several years. I worked with her at Workforce Solutions Borderplex for about 5 to 6 years when she was the CEO. And I'm currently working under Leila Melendez. And I'm actually their controller at Workforce Solutions. And it's a pleasure being here.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Welcome, Laura. Thank you for joining us, and I really appreciate your willingness to serve.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Yes, looking forward to it. Item number 3, adoption of minutes for the CRRMA board meeting of March 11, 2026.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, presentation, discussion, and action on a board resolution authorizing the advertisement of a construction letting for Phase 3 of the Alamo Alto Trail project.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Ray Mateus, Executive Director of the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority. Today, as read into the record, we do have a PowerPoint for you looking for authority to advertise a construction letting. This one deals specifically with Alamo Alto Trail, Phase 3. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of slides. You will have seen a similar, actually last month I think we had a couple extras, so this format will look familiar to you. This project is Phase 3 of the Alamo Alto Trail. As you may recall, we are helping the county develop several phases of the Paso del Norte Trail. We are currently out on the construction bid for Phases 1 and 2. Phase 1 is for the trail located within Fabens, Texas. Phase 2 is the trail located in Tornillo, Texas. And Phase 3 that we're speaking about today connects Fabens and Tornillo. So we're excited about this piece here today. Construction budget will come from El Paso County and federal funds. We've already managed the design. The design is essentially complete, and we are going to provide the construction management services for this particular project. The design was completed through our IDC program using AECOM, and we will utilize Atkins Realis as our GEC team to do the construction management. Okay, there's some graphics. This, of course, is part of your backup. so you can review it at your leisure. But this shows in green the segment of Phase 3 that connects Fabens to Tornillo. And there's some visuals to show you what we're looking at doing. Effectively, we are developing a 12-foot wide shared use path, and everything that you see there, signage, illumination, and a bridge, in fact, as well. Role of El Paso County is the usual one, which is overall owner of this segment of the project. So they provide guidance as we develop the project. They also provide the funding. The RMA has provided the design services and will provide the construction management activities as well. Here's the timeline. The timeline recently was pushed out, but we're looking at putting this out on the street in September of this year. And then we're looking to open bids in October with award in December. This is a little bit out, but we're looking to get authorization to do this now in the event that we're able to slide the schedule up closer. So that's the goal. We think we could start in January of 27, and this one will take about 15 months, so we'll be complete in spring of 28, excuse me. And that's what I have for you. So there is, as part of your backup, also a resolution authorizing the advertisement of a construction letting, so staff would recommend approval.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, discussion and action on board resolutions authorizing the execution of amendments to the following instruments as they relate to the I-10 westbound frontage road project. A, advance funding agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation, and B, work authorization number 2 with Concert Engineers LLC.
Okay, as a reminder, we have an existing agreement with TxDOT where the RMA is providing the management and oversight of the design activities for this particular project, the I-10 westbound frontage road. This is the project where we're adding frontage roads between Executive and Sunland Park. So that design is underway now. This is the third amendment to this arrangement. This amendment adds additional design services as we are revising the retaining wall that was originally designed for this project. So that impacts roadway, drainage, and ITS design activities that need to be updated. This, as TxDOT is funding this, they have reviewed and approved these amounts. So what you see under item 5A is an amendment to the advanced funding agreement with TxDOT. That's where TxDOT provides the authority to do the design work and the funding, so that increases the funding under 5A. And 5B then is the work authorization with Consor, which is part of our IDC program, where they will actually provide these additional design services. So subject to your questions, I would recommend approval of this item.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5A and B pass. Item 6, discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing the execution of an amendment to the interlocal agreement with the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization for the International Border Crossings Strategic Plan.
Okay, this is another partnership that we have with the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization. They received some funding to pursue the International Border Crossings Strategic Plan. However, it requires local match. The local match for this one is coming from several partners, including the County of El Paso, who authorized the use of vehicle registration fee dollars. As you know, the Camino Real RMA controls those vehicle registration fee dollars for the county. So at the county's request, we are making $90,000 available for the completion of this plan to the MPO. However, the initial agreement between the MPO and the RMA had a termination date of May of 2026. Unfortunately, there were some delays in receiving the federal approvals necessary to begin the project, so the termination date is being pushed out to July of 2027. So that's what you see before you under item 6 is simply an amendment to extend the termination date. We do have someone here from the El Paso MPO. Should you have any questions? Otherwise, I would recommend approval. Yes, sir.
Couple questions. There have been presentations here before, so the project started. There was enough funding to start the project. How much money are we talking about that's held up that is causing an almost year delay? And how did it start? How did the project even start without the money in place?
Well, I believe it did start, but it started much later than it was supposed to start. So as you may recall, this agreement was executed between the RMA and the MPO in 2024. So I believe there was a delay in the start, and that delay is what's causing this. I couldn't tell you how much is complete. I do know that in speaking with Eduardo Calvo, the executive director, they're getting ready to kick off the technical committee meetings in late April, and the RMA will be part of that. So we'll have much more detail in terms of where the project is and that sort of thing at that point. But I'm not sure if that answers your question, or if you'd like the MPO to address.
Well, not exactly. The project started with a set end date, which I would have expected the funding to be in place to meet that date. And so they, for whatever reason, some of the funding wasn't secured, and so now a project that was sort of
I think I know. Let me try it this way. So the total project cost was $2.1 million. Of that, $400,000 is the local match.
okay.
So the local match was allocated from the RMA through the county, and then there was a New Mexico partner and the city of El Paso. So those local dollars were allocated in 2024. The agreement to access the federal funds, the 1.7, I suppose 1.7, as I understand it, was not accessed until much later, and that's the delay. Those are the funds that were not available. Now, at some point between 24 and today, the funds were accessed, but it was much later. So the work has begun, but it was a much later start date. So that's what pushes the termination date. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. It's unfortunate when that happens in a project, because like if it were a construction project and you run out of money, well, you don't start it till you have the money in place. Otherwise, you have a huge construction gap in the middle.
Yeah, and I would note, I don't think the project started until the federal funds and the local match were all available.
Okay.
It's just that date was much later than originally anticipated.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't have any more questions.
Is there a timeline now that there's, with the changes, in terms of when it's going to be done, completed?
Yes, ma'am. So the end date now is July of 2027. Now, the technical committee meeting is being scheduled for late April, so we should have firm timelines and that sort of thing at that meeting. They'll be presented to us. But I have not seen the complete schedule yet, outside of the new termination date that's being added through this amendment.
What was the prior end date supposed to be before?
May of 2026.
Okay.
So the new end date includes the new monies, right?
I'm sorry?
The new end date includes the new money?
Well, no new money. All of these funds are the same amounts that were originally
Okay.
scheduled. It's just a pushing of the schedule.
Okay,
But everything's already secured, all the funds.
Yes, ma'am.
okay. So you just need a motion to extend it? Is that what the action is?
Yes, ma'am. A motion to authorize the amendment, which ultimately extends it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, discussion and action on the following reports for the second quarter of fiscal year 2026. A, interim financial statement. B, investment report. C, El Paso Bike Share Sun Cycle Program. And D, general engineering consultant team's use of local resources.
Good morning, Robert Studer, Director of Finance. For the record, the Finance Committee met yesterday, and we discussed at a high level, but also some depth, the reports. And the committee did make a recommendation to the full board to accept the reports. Following past practice, the committee does the deep dive, and then the board traditionally accepts the reports, but happy to pull any of them up if any members of the board would like to see them. Otherwise, would ask for a motion to accept the reports.
I move to approve.
I would like to note that of the Sun Cycle program, that it had a great
Yes, we had our best
performance.
second quarter ever, and we saw an 80% increase in checkouts compared to the same quarter last fiscal year.
Interesting. That's great. Is there anything else you want to highlight before we vote?
No,
The
ma'am.
committee?
I think that's the most exciting thing we had yesterday.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I think there was a motion.
Yes, I move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, items 7A through D pass. Item number 8, presentation, discussion, and action on the CRRMA's proposed communication plan.
Okay, as a reminder, we came to you all back in December with an initial proposed communications plan. At that meeting, the board asked that the item be sent back to the planning committee, which happened, I want to say, last month. And that has happened. And now today we have with us Martin Bartlett online. He's part of our outside outreach group, and he's going to walk us through the proposed communications plan that came through the planning committee. Mr. Bartlett?
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you. Just for the record, Martin Bartlett from Consor. As you may have surmised earlier, many of my colleagues are engineers. I am not an engineer. I am a professional communicator who has had the opportunity to work in the infrastructure space, but most recently had the pleasure of working with the RMA, the committee, and the board on developing a draft strategic communications plan, which is the action or the item that is before you today. So I do see that the presentation is being shared by IT, so I will ask IT to go ahead and advance the slide if you don't mind too much. We will move into the there we go. So again, why are we with you today? Pleasant to be with you, but we have some action items we want to discuss with you as well. I want to update you on the progress of the work that we've been undertaking over the last several months. Also make sure that we're aligned on the feedback we got from you as a board, from the planning committee, and from RMA staff as well. Very important to make sure that this is a plan that everyone in the room feels invested in and feels comfortable with, because it is ideally going to serve as a strategic guide for communications on behalf of the RMA into 2027, pending your approval today. On the next slide, we have a little bit of information about the project background, how we got here. This is ultimately, at a macro level, how this all began. Goal 3 of the RMA's strategic plan specifically calls out elevating communications, which is very exciting for us because we believe that communications is not window dressing. It's not an afterthought on project delivery. Good communications is ultimately an integrated project delivery tool. The analogy I always use is it's similar to motor oil. You don't have to put it in your car every time the dealership recommends it, but your machine will run a lot better over the long term if you do. So again, this is in response, this plan is in response to goal 3 of the RMA strategic plan. Moving on to the next slide, if you don't mind, a little bit of more of a micro view of the way we got to where we are today. As Mr. Tejas mentioned, had a work session with the board late last year. Spent some time earlier this year integrating the feedback we got from the board, then going to the planning committee to review a draft plan. Spent some time last month refining that plan, also identifying the resource gaps. When we were all speaking together last time, the board very clearly identified that there are resources that are presently available to the RMA to continue its communications efforts, but there is a desire to go further. And so what can presently be done under existing capacity, what's outside of that space, was one of the items that we spent some time developing as well. And Mr. Days, I don't know if this was an opportunity where you wanted to discuss the larger procurement that may be going out in the coming weeks and months.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, we do have a procurement that's going out that will secure an outside outreach firm, and that was approved at the last board meeting. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry about that.
So again, very, very clearly identifying there are resources that presently exist, there are those that may not presently exist. And so the idea being that you may have to spend some time finding those resources out there in the world. And of course, here we are in April 2026, presenting the plan, this very strategic plan for approval that will serve as that high-level, strategy-level guidance that can serve as a unifying framework for all those communications activities, whoever is undertaking them through 2027. We can advance the slide, please. One of the items that will probably be very familiar to the board and members of the committee are the guiding principles that we allowed to guide us through this process, the development of this plan. We heard a lot of concurrence on these, really focusing on telling the stories of community. People respond to people. We certainly want to update them on projects, but people are a lot more inclined to respond to stories of the people, the places, the benefits of projects rather than square yards or cubic yards of concrete. The RMA has a story to tell, and that's what you see kind of included in that second guiding principle, really making sure that we position the RMA, the communications efforts position the RMA as a well-run, forward-looking tool that has delivered for this community over the last 2 decades. Now, there are some key messaging buckets that we are recommending and proposing in the plan, but that doesn't mean that everyone cares about everything in the same way. And so incredibly important to make sure that we're matching the right message to the right audience using the right tool. On the next slide, we talk a little bit about those proposed key messages. And again, these are more kind of the messaging buckets, really focusing on quality of life. The projects that the RMA has delivered and continues to deliver for the community facilitate safer, more connected, more reliable transportation in a variety of modes. That improves the quality of life of El Pasoans. Innovation and efficiency. The RMA is out there maximizing the community's return on investments by using innovative methods, strategic partnerships, and it is an example of good governance in our community. Also recommend, as one of the proposed communications messaging buckets, community impact. The RMA projects bring those long-lasting benefits to our neighborhoods, to our business districts, to our regional neighbors. This is not something that happens in a vacuum. The final proposed key message sits in the area of transparency and accountability. The RMA operates with full transparency, providing clear, proactive information. And this is one of those cases where we're going to have to talk about matching the right message to the right audience. Transparency and accountability, if you live on a street that's under construction, means one thing. If you are a partner organization, transparency and accountability means another. So while we recognize that there are some binding themes to these proposed messaging buckets, the messages that ultimately undergird them, the way they're delivered to different audiences, should change and should be dynamic. All right, on the next slide, if you don't mind, we will go ahead and see or take a look at some of the proposed tactics that we are proposing as part of the plan. And this is not a holistic look at everything that is in the plan. There we go. Okay, we'll go back to the key message, key audiences first. So we talked a little bit about making sure that the message matches the audience. So who are those audiences? In the plan, in the draft plan, we provide a very comprehensive look at who fills out some of these proposed key audiences. But at a very high level, we broke it down into 5 groups. Policymakers and elected officials, Commissioners Court, the state legislative delegation, our members of Congress, stakeholders. This is a broader group that more broadly encompasses organizations that you work with, organizations who may be necessary to, if they're not necessarily giving you the approval on a project, it's very valuable to have them in your corner as you deliver for the community. Community members and neighborhoods, these are the folks who are directly impacted by projects. For example, when those construction impacts are happening on a street, happening on a commercial thoroughfare, making sure that we're providing that information to them. Members of the media, though the members of the media can inform many of the other stakeholder groups, the media themselves are an audience. We want to make sure that we're providing information to them in a way that's responsive to them, that's useful for them, and also recognizes the changing media landscape. As a former journalist, once upon a time, there was a very small group of folks who had that level of influence, had that ability to communicate broadly to broad stakeholders, broad audiences. We want to make sure we're responsive to the fact that that's changed a lot in the past years. Also adjacent jurisdictions. Very important to recognize that the R in RMA recognizes a degree of regional cooperation and collaboration. So it's important not just that organizations and jurisdictions who are directly adjacent in El Paso County, but who may be more further afield in places like far west Texas and southern New Mexico and northern Chihuahua are aware of the work that the RMA is doing. All right, now we'll dive into some of the proposed tactics that we're proposing. And again, this is not a comprehensive look, not a comprehensive deep dive into the plan, but these were some of the items that we heard come up over and over again. And so we just wanted to run through these as some of the proposed tactics that are some of the selected tactics that are proposed in the plan. One of the items that we heard that goes directly to board feedback is creating a monthly meeting recap news release. This is something that is frankly easy to do and can provide a degree of awareness on behalf of local media, can provide awareness on behalf of other adjacent jurisdictions and policymakers to just begin to raise the profile of, hey, the RMA is out there every month. We're meeting, we're taking action, we're doing things that are meaningfully advancing projects that meaningfully advance the transportation goals of the region. Another item that we are recommending that we heard a lot of positive feedback on was really making sure that we're identifying and working, and staff is working to identify opportunities to proactively tell the story of the RMA, either through local media or through other channels. Making sure that when we have a project that demands maybe a deeper dive, that we are willing to step out, pick up the phone, call the folks who might be able to help us tell our story to the broader community. You know, one example that came to mind, I think came up in some of the conversations we were having, was about the RMA's role in delivering the tramway. This is a project that is, for me, as someone who spent many years in El Paso, this is essentially El Paso. And the role of the RMA is essential in delivering and bringing this essentially El Paso institution back to the community. That may not be something that everyone expects or understands. So let's tell that story. Let's make sure that we're being proactive and explaining the really exciting work that the RMA is doing. Another item where we left a little bit of room, we provided some kind of high-level strategic thoughts, but there is some room to flex depending upon preference and budget moving forward, is on video storytelling. We heard a lot of excitement around making sure that there are tools that are visually captivating, that are appealing, and that respond to, again, the fact that many people receive their messages on Instagram, on social media. Make sure that we're providing video content that fills some of those spaces, depending on the ultimate goals and the ultimate kind of budgetary realities that may move forward. If we go back to that slide, I do just want to kind of call out, there are a couple of visuals you see there on the side of the screen that many organizations across the country are having success with, and we would recommend the RMA really kind of look to as a little bit of an example. You know, one of these is from a transit organization. One of these is, actually both of these are from transit organizations. One of them is a little bit more multimodal, including bike share. We're talking about what are the things you can do because of transit? What are the things you can do because of bike share? What are the things you can do that you wouldn't have been able to enjoy or celebrate or savor, as they say, if not for the infrastructure investments that were made? And so really thinking about those as a really interesting paradigm for how do we communicate with the community about the role of the RMA, the benefit of the RMA. It's being able to, in Houston, in the metro example, being able to savor those flavors. It's not just about being able to get from point A to point B. What is point B? It's something that you want to go to and want to do and want to experience. And now we can move on to the next slide. Another item that we left some room to move and evolve in is on social media. Social media is an area where we know there's a lot of interest from the board. We know that it presents some really exciting opportunities, but also challenges for an organization, for any organization, including the RMA. And so there are, within the plan, 3 general umbrella approaches that may make sense. There you see them listed on the screen. One of them is a limited social media content creation approach, where the RMA does some limited work creating content and working with partners to get that information out. Another approach, kind of a mid-tier approach, would be creating some of that limited content and dipping a toe in the water, figuring out, is there a platform that makes sense for the RMA that energy and energy can be invested into, to, for example, pick a platform, really focus on that to begin to grow. And then the final, the third tier approach, the kind of the Cadillac version, would be full suite social media content creation and account management. That is a very heavy lift and would require a substantial investment, but it may be something that there is desire to do based upon maybe the successes, the challenges, the lessons learned during some of those other social media, more limited social media approaches are undertaken. Another item that we provide as just a very high level thought is an opportunity that's coming up next year. 20 years of the RMA, 2 decades the RMA has been delivering for the El Paso community. And so while we know there's a lot of appetite to begin to communicate proactively immediately, there may be a little bit of value in setting the table for a more robust campaign next year, tying it to the 20th anniversary of the RMA. I think that's a really exciting milestone for the organization, and we can make it, or it can be made into an exciting milestone for the community that elevates awareness, builds community pride in the fact that we have an organization like this that is, again, delivering projects that meaningfully enhance quality of life, that meaningfully enhance, that go to all those key messages. Again, community, not concrete, and also reinforce the RMA's reputation as an innovative, community-focused mobility partner. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. We did not provide a deep dive into the plan itself, but happy to answer any questions that you have or take into account any comments you might have as well.
Matthew, can you give us some feedback from the planning committee? This went through you all?
Sure. So the first draft of the plan that we got was well done. The gaps were not a fault of the staff or of the consultant, but what we saw was really a lack of funding, if you will, for what we know is a communication gap, and that would be social media. And so the feedback that we gave to Ray and to Martin was to go back and look at how the RMA might begin to do more in that area to publicize the projects, 20th anniversary, whatever you want to do, because if you're relying on legacy media to do that, it's going to be hard to get that story out. Even if you provide the video for them, which was one of Martin's ideas, it's still going to be hard to get out. So you have to begin to do that yourself and provide that as a route for us to begin to communicate about ourselves, and then give the board the opportunity to fund that, even if it's a little bit at a time, so that we're promoting the RMA, but all of the projects the RMA has, everything from bike share and getting ridership up to the trail projects, which are really neat. And so that was the big piece that we'd like to see continue to grow as we broaden the communication efforts.
Okay, thank you. So, I'm actually really excited about this 20 years, because I was like there when we started, when this thing first started, which kind of is mind-boggling that I've been around that long. But anyway, there's a lot to tell about 20 years, starting with just the effort to get the RMA set up. You had Ted Houghton, who was the chair of the Transportation Commission. John Cook was the mayor. He really carried the water on it. There was a lot of opposition. Not a lot, but there was opposition. I mean, there wasn't like unanimity amongst the state legislatures at the time. The county wasn't really on board. That's why we took it as a city-initiated RMA, even though it was regional. And then you basically had like the $1 or $2 billion mobility plan that Ted brought a ton of funding into the community. Really, it was very transformational. I mean, we haven't seen money like that now in a while. And then the county came in with their vehicle tax, really transformed the funding available to provide match and drawdown. They had their own $1 billion plan. And then all the things we've done since with the smaller jurisdictions. I mean, we could tell a great story about how transportation infrastructure over the last 20 years has literally transformed this region and allowed smaller communities like Horizon and elsewhere to really grow and develop beyond what they would have been able to otherwise. Then the alternative modes with the trolley, the trails, the bike share, even the regional transit now that we're working on, the project out at the Tornillo Airport. I mean, there's a huge story to tell here over the course of a year. I think that's very exciting and I think really rewarding when you stop back and reflect on it. One of the things I was thinking maybe, the county, the Chamber of Commerce does this state of the whatever. Maybe we could work with them for the 20-year anniversary of the RMA and work with the MPO to do like a state of state of regional transportation infrastructure and do a big look back and then talk about what's on the plate now. And we've got this deck project, the widening. There's a bunch of other stuff kind of out there. I think it would be, you've got the Sunland Park area and Santa Teresa with the port there. And there's just a lot of really significant infrastructure that's being invested that has a huge impact on quality of life and economic development that I don't think we're really even thinking about. I think that would be a great thing to build a budget around for next year.
That's a great idea. And I think for the Finance Committee, I think that's something we can hopefully work with at budget time.
And I would really encourage us to be a little aggressive and put some money in there to really launch it and use that as sort of a catalyst to really get our brand and name out there. I mean, we could do things between now and then to lay the groundwork. Some of the smaller things where, we're going to do outreach and some other things. Make sure we've got a good stakeholder list. I just had Raymond send something to the governor's office because my appointment wasn't renewed, I guess, in a timely manner, and so they're catching up to do it. And so I sent it. He asked me to send him some stuff so he could kind of update everybody on what we're doing. I didn't even realize. I mean, that office really wasn't on the radar screen. I really focus on the senator and our delegation to make sure they're in the Transportation Commission. Just stuff like that, making sure we've got all our stakeholders, important stakeholders out there lined up. Anyway, great work. I'm really excited. It's nice to see you, Martin.
Pleasure
You're all grown up.
I had good teachers.
Okay, well, subject to your questions, staff would recommend adoption of the communications plan, and we'll begin those activities as soon as we can.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Item
Thank
carries.
you, everyone who worked on this. Matthew, the committee, Raymond, Martin, good job.
Thank you.
Item number 9, discussion and action on a board resolution related to the required annual security awareness training certification which authorizes the A, chair to execute a governing board acknowledgement form, and B, executive director to submit documentation evidencing compliance.
As read into the record, this is a requirement by state statute. Each year, governmental employees have to take cybersecurity awareness training. We've all completed that, so we need this authorization so that we can submit that. So I would recommend approval.
Motion.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is
And
there
that's
any-
all we have. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, that's it. Subject to your questions, we look for a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, Raymond, is there any update, like on the Pelicano project, the second phase? Did I miss that? We're there yet?
On the second phase, just briefly, we have provided the design plans to the surety company, and they are reviewing those now.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, ma'am. I'd mentioned
You
too,
might
just,
have told us, but I couldn't remember, and I'm just thinking it's been a while.
I don't think I have, and I apologize for that. I think we have a project briefing either next month or the following month, and that's,
No, that's perfect, that's fine. It just was, I was thinking about it when we were talking about projects. and
Could we get an
I will
update on
that
it
one's been
next
that
month?
one's been
Just put
kind
it
of
on the agenda?
quiet, so.
certainly, yeah. Okay,
And
so
if you have a
we'll add a
cost update
briefing
also.
for next month. I will mention just very briefly on phase one, we're not posted, so I'll just mention it very briefly. Phase one is going really well. The pavement, the concrete has been poured from Loop 375 on the main lanes, Loop 375 all the way out to Mission Ridge. So that's
Okay.
done. They are prepping the driveways in that section, and they've begun the base work on the section from Mission Ridge heading out to Aircoop. So we're really excited about the progress they've made out there. But that's all I
Great,
have for you.
thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting
Thank you,
adjourned
everyone.
at
I'll see you next
9:42.
month.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you all.